Born with one arm, I've spent my life overcoming adversity.
Once I realized there was nothing wrong with me, I was able to find purpose. I was able to truly live my own life. Over the past year, I traveled the country to discover if other people face similar challenges in their life.
These are the stories of real people who've taken their weaknesses and made them strengths.
I knew from younger years that there was something wrong.
After my diagnosis, when you never know when the days could stop counting, that's when you make them count.
I wasn't supposed to graduate high school. I got kicked out twice, and then I graduated with a bachelor's degree from the University of Utah.
There's no getting around it. In life, you will face adversity.
Once we found out at the age of 7 that he had Fragile X syndrome, we put our full trust in God, saying, you know what, we got to do something for our kid. And then there's so many other families out there that are facing the same things. We want to do it for that.
When we first launched the Dude Be Nice project a couple years ago, we're like, I hope this goes viral. Like, millions of people are gonna love this. And it was like, womp womp.
I got last in the race.
She kind of had a breakdown, and we realized at that point she really needed help.
Large or small, it's how we face these moments that will shape our lives.
Having a business is an emotional roller coaster. It's just the hardest thing that I've ever done.
We have two options. First is to shut down and try to ignore the problems. Second is to stand up and face it.
When everything was stacked against me, that's when I was at my best.
Persevering through hard times, it's what helps us find our calling, leads us to success, and defines who we will become.
He wasn't supposed to make it past 9 years old, and we're 17 now, so.
I was able to be world champion in a sport that I was a little kid and a fan of.
When I came home the night of one of those first chemos and couldn't walk, I was throwing up, and I just told him I couldn't do this any longer. It wasn't worth it. I was ready to die, basically.
Once Adam changed his mindset, it gave him the strength to survive and make a positive impact in this world.
So I was getting chemo one day. I came up with a business plan to raise money for St. Jude.
What could have killed him made him stronger. Never underestimate the power of your inner strength.
Middle school and high school are really hard. In high school, we moved to Florida to help out with hurricane disaster relief. And while we were there, our family lost everything. We ended up going bankrupt. Our homes were foreclosed, our cars were repossessed, everything was gone. In the same space, my mom was diagnosed with a metastatic breast cancer. I suddenly had to step up, take care of my mom and my siblings, and have a full-time job and try to be a high school student. It was really hard for everyone. We kind of all just went in survival mode from that point on.
Life gives no handouts, and Noelle realized she'd have to put herself through college.
That included working at least 3 jobs consistently while being a full-time student and full-time internship, and it got to a space where I wouldn't go home for days at a time because I didn't have time to. Anything can happen, but you have to be willing to put in the work, and that's not a bad thing. It's actually a really empowering thing.
Your future starts now. What's one thing that you know you could be working harder at?
People think, oh, Dude Be Nice, you guys are so successful. Yeah, well, I didn't take a paycheck for over 3 years, so imagine how I live. Days upon days where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this, it's too expensive. We weren't making a lot of money, we weren't selling stuff, and part of that was because I wasn't on the road. I wasn't out there telling people about it every single day like I'm doing now. Once we started going to some events and kind of seeing the response and people kind of saying the world needs this, but eventually I realized, well, if I'm gonna do this, I gotta go all in or shut this thing down. It's not gonna grow with me just kind of on the sidelines.
Whether it's building a company or getting an A in a test, what are the first steps you need to take to achieve your goals?
Getting kicked out of school for fighting. They wasn't gonna allow me to come back to school without getting help. I had teachers that weren't good that told me I needed to quit school and get a job, which was motivation for me. I wanted to push myself every day Other kids in my neighborhood would see me lifting and they, "What you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm lifting weights." It kept us out of trouble and we challenged and pushed each other. Having something that you can identify with means a lot when you're a kid and you feel like everything else is stacked up against you.
Look at what happened when Mark focused his energy on something he loved. What's one activity that you enjoy that has a positive impact on your life?
At the very beginning, when we first got the diagnosis, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to fix something that you can't fix. When it's your own kid and you feel like, is there something I could have done different? I wanted to give him every opportunity to do whatever he wanted to do.
Zach was able to unite his entire school to give back to a cause that he believed in.
I wanted to pay it forward to helping a kid get their wish granted so that we can all make a difference.
His actions made him a leader and one of the most recognized students in his school. Now everyone knows who he is.
Jumping in, it was very fearful. We made some lifestyle changes.
The Kohler's son was born with an incurable mental disease.
It wasn't just our son who faces this issue. I had 208 special needs baseball players on 20 different teams, and every single parent was facing the same thing.
They saw those with special needs had limited job opportunities, so they created a company that would support them.
Helps with speech development, helps just with social interaction, helps with job opportunity that they may never ever get.
And Allison Schmidt, as Rowdy said, that 158-51.
And Allison Schmidt with a nice backhand to bring home the win.
I came back as one of the most decorated Olympians from that Olympics. But I didn't feel that way. I would have done anything to give those medals back and be like, can I just feel normal?
You can be the most talented, fit athlete in the world, and if you don't have the right mindset for competition, you're never going to make it.
A breakout performance.
Yeah, she has struggled the last couple years since those London games.
I felt empty. And there were many times when I was like, no one would care if I wasn't here anymore. 2 weeks later, I went to go see a psychologist. I still was not comfortable seeing a psychologist. When people would ask, I would say I was just at a doctor's appointment.
I think that people are fearful of stepping forward and being judged, for having a mental illness or depression, and they shouldn't be. But the only way to go through it and be successful is to get help.
This is your life. Nobody else is going to go live it for you. The moment that you realize that is the moment you start living.
When I was a high schooler, if I could talk to myself to just make sure you're living for a purpose, you're not just going through the flows of the life.
I'm challenging you. Go be a part of something bigger than yourself.
I've started Adam's Army and now I am the captain.
Believe that you can make a difference.
Find what matters to you and just go.
Focus on that ability, that gift, or that talent that you do well, and use that.
Start by doing what's necessary.
Asking for help is the hardest thing I've ever done. It's harder than training for the Olympics, but it was also the most helpful thing that I've ever done.
If you're dealing with mental health and wellness issues, don't be afraid to ask for help.
It's taken going to events and one by one telling people what this company is and selling them on this idea of we're trying to do good in the world.
Then fight for what you believe in.
As long as there's hope and there's faith that he'll keep fighting.
There's a special needs program probably at your school. How are you involving them? They're miracles. Good job, Zach.
Other people always wanted to quantify and ask me, man, where did you get that from? It was desire and passion to not fail. Half of it is showing up. The other half is how much work you're willing to put in to make it happen.
I made this series to push you to be the best versions of yourselves possible.
I'm lucky to have the support I have from Bob, from my teammates, from my family and friends.
I believe in you. It's time for you to start believing yourself.